Good afternoon. It's that time again. Yes, it's time for I Can't Adult Today. It's coffee time. It's coffee break live update time to be exact. And it is Thursday, September 3rd, 2020. And welcome to my man cave. The subject for today is quite different. I decided to go off on a tangent, mainly because of the transit. So it's like if this was astrologically influenced, I totally admit to it. What's in the sky today is, and the last few days, actually, if we go back to this past weekend with the Venus opposition to Pluto, which we still have kind of going on. We've got Pluto not so much involved, but Saturn. We still have Venus coming up to an exact opposition to Saturn. And then just another degree and Venus will be squared Mars. It's already there, you know. It's already squared Black Moon Lilith. It's opposed Pluto. It's going to square Mars. And it's already squaring Juno. So there's the relationship asteroid. Things are hot, okay? It may not seem to be, considering everything else that's going on. Love is in the air, but in a very kind of difficult sort of wavering kind of way. With everything that's been happening, it's kind of hard to focus on, the meaning and purpose of interpersonal relationships, male-female stuff. But it is significant. And these things have to do with Venus in Cancer, looking for security, looking for reassurance, looking for closeness and comfort. Saturn in Capricorn, basically trying to establish or bring into some sort of focus and control the whole aspect of what we call love in the human sense. And I say that deliberately because love in the human sense is sort of a dilution from our divine origins. And we have created all types of archetypes and myths and gods and goddesses to demonstrate for us or to embody what we think divine unconditional love might look like. We've created all kinds of stories. There's been amazing poems, amazing songs, amazing literature, and music and everything about love. I think it's especially poignant and important at these in times like this to not get so caught up in the war of words or ideas or ideologies and forget love, okay? Forget relating in a way that is loving, okay? If we want to bring up the verb version of love. Back in July, I spoke to this before and talked about love as being nothing more than allowing all things to be as they are without imposition, imposing our rules or our ideas, our projections, our expectations on what it's supposed to look like, behave like. And gosh, that's hard. How you love yourself. How many expectations do you put on yourself on a daily basis or have for yourself on a daily basis? How many times have you looked back with regret at a relationship that didn't work out and punish yourself for it or feel that there was something more you could have done to prevent it from disintegrating or falling apart? But just like everything looks like it's falling apart now, doesn't mean that love isn't present in some form, in some way. We want to love, we want to be loved. And yet the third part of that equation often gets short shrift, that we are love. But that's hard to define. It's like hard to imagine ourselves as just that 4-letter word. And what does that mean to any individual can vary, can change. Excuse me, it is Coffee Break Live Update or Love Update. My handy dandy little thermal mug that says I can't adult today. Well, I don't want to. I may be accused of being Pollyannish about love, or maybe accused of being a Peter Pan, but I'll never be accused of not having a soft heart and love for the sake of love and affection and and all that goes with that, the many expressions of love, including sexual love. So we need to have those dialogues, and we need to put them right alongside what is happening in the wider world, and what's happening with COVID, and what's happening with the war of words that's going on. In fact, there's just too many dang words. If you ask me, there are YouTube broadcasts, there are podcasts, there are blogs, there are Facebook Lives, there are Instagram Lives, there are whatever. You know, there's just this flurry and ending storm of words happening. And I think with the Mars in Aries thing, and Venus in Cancer, and them being at sort of a difficult juncture to each other, a tension, a point of tension, the male or the masculine squaring Saturn, the Mars squaring Saturn and saying, you know, it's a man's world, it's the patriarchy, you know, we rule the roost, and we always have, at least from their own perception. And Venus in Cancer going, you know, and I've always been the mother, and I've always been the provider, and the provider for the children and the nurturer, and I've always been the one there to look after my husband and to my family and my greater family, my relatives. It's interesting because I watched a cooking program last night. Not hawking any particular show, but it's about individual chefs and their personal lives and their personal struggles and their hopes and dreams and everything. And there was this Indian woman, Amza, who had the whole segment to herself, and about her upbringing in India, in Delhi, and the connection or the relationship she had with her mother, but the culture of India, and saying that she was a second daughter. She was born as a second daughter into this family, and how in India the idea of second daughter being born is looked upon with disdain. You know, it's like the family is pitied for having a second daughter and not a son. Because whenever you have a daughter born into Hindu culture, maybe it's the same in Pakistan, I don't know, in Muslim culture, they're still Indian. The family has to create a dowry. It has to create a dowry. It's very expensive to get your daughter married off. It's a big deal. Sometimes the weddings go on for 2 weeks, from what I've been told. But it's also a source of shame if it's the second or the third daughter in the family. Nobody wants them. They become a non-person in a way. Where's the love in that? Have our rules become the actual block to love and affection and to emotional fulfillment? Have our expectations become detours in how we view ourselves, what we feel we have a right to in terms of affection and care and pleasure? Pleasure keeps coming back into this over and over for me right now, because I see so much displeasure and unpleasure in the world. And maybe that mirrors something in myself, in my life, that I need to look at and take better note of, take better care to look at and work on that. But there are so many words, and there are so many wars of words going on, and there's so much dissension and displeasure and conflict, verbally or otherwise. And we are getting further and further away from what our true natures are. And as a result, we are distancing ourselves, becoming estranged to how perhaps love, affection, pleasure can positively impact ourselves and those around us, and how it can positively impact and change and soften people's belligerence and their adherence, their absolute insane adherence to particular beliefs, even scientific beliefs. They're still beliefs. Until something can be actually factually demonstrated, it's still a theory. And it's an evolving thing. Scientific inquiry doesn't stand still. But scientific arrogance certainly does. We cannot afford that anymore than we can afford religious arrogance, political arrogance, and social engineering arrogance. Because all these things are systems, and systems do not support or expand love as much as we'd like to think they do. You know, there's the corporation with a heart. Well, it's a big public relations nonsense. Basically, we have to understand that the nature of love starts with the divine, with the invisible, with the ineffable. And it is translated into this world of contrasts and counterpoint, cause and effect, up and down, back and forth, in and out, so that we can experience what isn't love, so that we can know and remember what is love. And right now, love is in the box, being questioned by the prosecutor, Saturn, and being lambasted by the public, Mars and Aries. It's like, we're in charge. And poor Juno in Libra is saying, can we find a way through this? Can we find a balance? Can we find even a compromise that might be agreeable, or make an agreement? Juno, by the way, is the asteroid goddess most concerned, being Zeus's wife, with holding together the family, holding together relationships, especially marriages. In Libra, she's quite focused on trying to maintain some sort of balance or equilibrium where it comes to the ethos of love, because love is the ruler, or Venus is the ruler of Libra, or Libra. So we have this energy that started last Friday, Saturday, and it's still going today, and it's going to continue the rest of the week. And it might help you and I and everyone else, maybe, to focus on maybe the philosophy of love and the energy of love, and not get too wrapped up anymore in the ideas of what relationships should be, what sexuality should be, what love has to be in order to fulfill my needs or your needs. Then that isn't I love you, that's I trade you. Okay, those are business arrangements between people that look like a relationship. They talked about the 5 languages of love, and they're useful. That's another system, right? It's another system to try to define how people express love. And it's all good and everything, but, when you start looking at things like service over physical affection and touch, it becomes a doing. I have to do something to demonstrate my love, which is the antithesis of what love is automatically, what it is naturally. It's like it's an allowing. It's complete and total, whatever thou wilt, that's okay with me. I love you no matter what. I love myself no matter what mistakes I make, no matter what goof-ups I have. I love, the world as it is just now, because I can't go out and make it into the image of what I want it to be this moment. I have to allow it to be as it is. That's a love. That's a form of love. And in fact, that's closest probably to sacred or divine love that you can come to, is saying, for a doggone moment, I'm going to stop talking and I'm going to listen, or I'm going to take a moment to look at how I'm feeling inside in relationship to all of this craziness, rather than getting caught up in trying to fix it or trying to change it. Because that's just another ego attempt to try to remove the uncomfortable feelings that we have about what we view as being threatening or not right in our estimation. This is no way to make an excuse for people's bad behavior, abusive behavior, or just plain damaging acts and words. There's no room for that. One can understand it. One can live, attempt to love the person through whom these manifestations are occurring. But one thing we have to remember is that there are, as love is a formless, experiential state of being, there are also invisible to our current sensate awareness, invisible influences that are acting contrary to that because of their own myopia, because of their own blindness, because of their own pain, whatever. And they, or them, or men in black, or whoever you want to think about like that, are busy creating the chaos and trying to influence human beings to act counter to their inherent nature. So whenever we look at a relationship, the relationship we're in, the one we'd want to be in, the ones that we'd want to experience, have fewer rules and more love, have fewer expectations and more allowing, and have fewer demands placed upon others that you would not want to have placed upon yourself. Okay? So in the coming days, this whole arena is going to ease somewhat, but it's still going to be a stormy, turbulent month. This is setting the stage for other things. Around the middle of September, it doesn't get any easier in this arena, but it will have to play itself out. Whatever the influences are, they are helping us, and that's a service, that's a boon, to help us understand and see where we are too controlling, too intolerant, and way too stuck by the controls that were placed on us by the culture and during our childhood, historically and otherwise. So what is love? It's a mystery. And it's the mystery that brings two people together. And it's the mystery that also separates two people whose journey together has reached, at least in that moment, the highest possible expression that it could have. And then it's time to move on. I think that, if I'm thinking just in human relationships, men, women, men, women, women, if I'm looking at that and I stood back and I pretended for a moment I was everything looking at that, I'd say, anything goes, nothing is lost. And there is plenty of me, spirit, I am, God, Goddess, all that is, to go around because I'm unlimited. I'm everywhere and I'm everything, right? And I'm willing to experiment and find out what works and what doesn't, what serves and what doesn't. But then once you're done with the experiment, once you're done with the learning, once you're done with the growing, maybe there's no longer any growth left in that relationship. Maybe there's no longer any growth, and I bless it and I let it go. Bless that person, I let it go. I bless this world, no matter how screwed up it looks right now, how crazy it is, and I let it go. To me, that's consummate, pure divine love, period. There is no substitute for that. No matter how you want to wrap it up, you can't, stuff it in a candy box and give it to somebody on Valentine's Day. There is no one except the one. There's another good one. There is no one except the one. Every time you look in the mirror, there's the one. Every time you look into the eyes of a beloved, there's the one. Do not put a fence or a corral around love, because it will find a way to break down the gate every time. And when it does, we have the experience of broken love, brokenheartedness, and disappointment. But it doesn't have to get to that point in our relationships, and it certainly doesn't have to get to that place in our relationship with the rest of the human race and with each other. And that's what I'm talking about. That's the core message here, is that if we turn around our concept and our habits around love, then perhaps we stand a chance to get out of this confusion, this ball of confusion right now, politically, socially, spiritually. There's a spiritual war going on. Let's not candy coat any of it. There's a spiritual war going on. And if we come back to the knowledge and the understanding that right at the center point of all things is that point of love, we can not just survive this, we can thrive and we can move forward in a way that is natural, organic, imaginative, loving, affectionate, caring, and in harmony with ourselves and in harmony with all that is, planet, nature. So what we see happening in terms of dis-ease and discord is, I don't want to sound, trite or cute. I'm not going to quote anything from Conversations with God or those other things. It's amazing how I can just go right. Course in Miracles. Because unless love is a felt experience, it is merely an intellectual exercise. It is merely an intellectual exercise. There are things in the culture, there are things in the environment, there are things in the world that remind us of what love can be. Look at a piece of work by Michelangelo. Listen to any of Schubert's symphonies. Listen to Hallelujah, that wonderful song by Cohen. So we've got to understand that in order for us to move forward into this next 3-4 month period and all of next year and the decade, this time right now that is being illustrated, being shown to me astrologically, is very important. Why? Because there's a grand cross in the sky. Venus and Saturn, Mars and Juno. And it's saying, what will thou do with this? What will you do with love? Okay, so there it is. What shall we do? My interpretation, my opinion, that's it. It's just my interpretation of what is the energies du jour is based on that notion that unless love is allowed to re-enter the dialogues that we're having on all levels and in all forms of expression, we're going to feel a lot more pain than we will pleasure. And I think pleasure is the indication of the soul coming through without restriction, without any kind of control, without any kind of restriction, without any kind of restraint. Love is expressed freely and very, very passionately. Okay? So I'd appreciate your questions and comments about any aspect of this that I've brought out, and I'll answer them the best I can. If you are at all needing some guidance or reflection around anything that's going on in your relationship life, then I'm your huckleberry, because that's one of the core pieces in my whole lifelong experience and also my lifelong work as a mentor, is love and relationships, whether it's expressed through astrology or direct counseling or whatever, because it's been core part of my journey in this lifetime. Yeah, the soulmate thing, the twin soul thing, that miracle that you lock eyes with somebody across the room, that you have no foundation for loving or caring or feeling attracted for this person, it still happens, and you go, what is this about? Well, it's maybe your next curriculum, your next course, that person, and you are theirs. When we have a little bit more lighthearted understanding of the true purpose of relationships, we might not become so damaged by them and keep creating situations in which both parties get so damaged. Just saying, just noticing, I'm tired of pain, suffering especially. I mean, suffering is just, pain amplified and ongoing. It doesn't ever resolve itself. So it's Thor's Day in the Viking calendar. It's Thor's Day, or Zeus. And Juno's involved, his wife is involved here. And it's like, let's try to hold this together, kids. There's a lot riding on what we do with love today. and actually for any day, for every day. So that's the synopsis du jour here at Coffee Break Love Update. Next Tuesday, I'll be back again with Coffee Break Live Update, probably for, I don't know what the topics are until like the morning of. I have no idea. It's sort of a channeled thing. What can I tell you? To get in touch, just go to isaacgeorge.com, private message me through Facebook, or email me at isaac@isaacgeorge.com. Doesn't matter. I'll get back to you as soon as possible. In the meantime, enjoy your beverage, whatever it might be, coffee, tea, smoothie, whatever. You might be just waking up on your side of the world. And if you're winding down your day in Central Europe and further points east, have a great evening. And good morning and good afternoon to the rest of you, and blessings on your journey. Back to you Tuesday. Bye.